Chapter 1150. Ninth layer life and death realm experts were the supreme beings of this universe. What was a supreme being? Naturally, it was supreme. Without true gods, no one could compete with them. However, ninth layer life and death realm supremes were too rare. Each race only had a few of them. It could be said that any ninth layer life and death realm supremes would be a peerless genius when they were young. If other geniuses were stars, then a ninth layer life and death realm supremes would be the sun when they were young. Wanting to kill a ninth layer life and death realm supremes was as difficult as ascending the heavens, and the price one had to pay was extremely high. Only a group of ninth layer life and death realm supremes would have a chance. However, every race had a plan. Since they couldn't kill a ninth layer life and death realm supremes, then they would kill some peerless geniuses who had the possibility of becoming supremes. This way, as time passed, the number of ninth layer life and death realm supremes in the enemy races would decrease. Once the old ones died, the new ones would not appear, and victory would come naturally. Without a doubt, Yi Chen had the possibility of becoming a ninth layer life and death sovereign. It would be too late to kill him after he reached that step. Killing him now would only require 1,000th of the price. Of course, this would require a meticulous plan. After all, Yi Chen was basically staying in the 4 major life star fields. Killing him would not be that easy. Even 9th layer life and death sovereign or 8th layer titled monarchs couldn't act rashly. If even one of them died, it would be a huge loss, damaging the foundation. 7 days later, the Demon Hunter squad left the high-rank hunting battlefield and returned to the God Paradise. Keep training, and try to cultivate to the Blue Soul Ring realm. In this hunt, Yi Chen had obtained a total of 3,100,000 Shunbi. Adding his previous gains, he now had 3,600,000 Shunbi. On the second floor of the Tower of Time, Yi Chen continued to comprehend his soul ring. With his Blue Soul Ring, Yi Chen was already able to ignore the soul attacks from the God-Bless Queen and the others. On the battlefield, even tens of thousands of life and death realm warriors would not be able to do anything to him. Firstly, it was because his soul was too powerful, and secondly, it was because his soul ring was unfathomable. If he could train it to the Blue Soul Ring realm, not only would his soul defense increase to the next level, it would also be able to last longer. After all, both soul defense and soul attacks would consume soul power. As for the highest realm, the Purple Spirit Ring realm, Yi Chen could only estimate at present. The specific strength, temporarily did not know. Cultivation was timeless, especially in the Tower of Time. Translator, WQL Editor. Alim 2 months in the outside world were equivalent to 6,000 days in the Tower of Time. Blue light appeared outside Yi Chen's soul sea, which was as pure as the azure sky. However, it was clearer than the azure sky. Gradually, the blue light formed a blue halo outside the cyan halo. Blue Soul Ring realm, achieved. It is time to go to the Black Tortoise ruins. Yi Chen did not need to think to know that since he had spent more than 3 months to reach the Blue Soul Ring realm, it would take him at least a year to reach the Purple Soul Ring realm. And this was with the help of the Tower of Time. Therefore, there was no need to rush it, since there was no hope this year. Riding the God ship, Yi Chen headed to the Gold Armor planet in the Black Tortoise star region. Thousand Arrow King and the other 5 went ahead of him. This time, Yi Chen decided to go to the Black Tortoise ruins alone. If there were too many people, he would not be able to perform well. Inside the Black Tortoise ruins, Yi Chen was drinking in the Hall of the Phantom while the ship was traveling at a high speed. 3 days later, Yi Chen had reached the core area of the Black Tortoise ruins. Almost there. Putting away the Phantom, Yi Chen gazed into the depths of the ruins. The Black Tortoise ruins was a huge battlefield. The human race, demons, evil spirit race, Yaksha race, Greenman race, and other races would all send armies to fight here. The human race fought to protect their territory, while the demons and other races fought to gradually invade the human race's territory. Both sides could be said to be irreconcilable. Under normal circumstances, armies that came to the Black Tortoise ruins consisted of 500 people, 1,000 people, 5,000 people, and even 50,000 people. There were very few who came alone. After all, there were very few who could fight 1,000 people or 10,000 people. There would always be some weaknesses. Some had weak soul defenses, while others had weak physical defenses. Once surrounded, 9 out of 10 would be dead. Those who dared to come alone were all extremely confident in themselves. For example, some of the powerful 7th layer life and death titled monarchs would choose to enter the ruins alone. Firstly, it was more flexible. Secondly, it was faster to earn money, and everything would belong to them. Thirdly, it could temper their battle strength. As for 8th layer life and death titled monarchs and 9th layer life and death supremes, they rarely entered the ruins. They were the true pillars of their race, and their numbers were few. Death meant one less. Before the decisive battle, these people wouldn't come out. Once one of them appeared, it would immediately raise the alarm and escalate the battle situation. At that time, the situation would go out of control, which would not be a good thing for everyone. In any case, the Black Tortoise Ruins was the territory of the human race. There were also life planets in the Black Tortoise Ruins, but most of them were broken. Only 9th layer life and death supremes could destroy life planets. Back then, a great battle had destroyed 90% of the life planets. As for ordinary planets, billions of them had been destroyed, leaving the Black Tortoise Ruins floating in the vacuum. Stepping on a constantly moving meteorite, Yi Chen's vertical eye opened. A silver light flickered as it scanned the surroundings like a three-eyed god. Got it. Soon, Yi Chen discovered a 500-man army of demons. Swish. The meteorite shattered, and Yi Chen's speed erupted to the limit as he flew toward the target. Enemies on the right. Everyone, prepare. Seeing that there was only one person, the leader of the demon army started to get nervous. Those who dared to enter the Black Tortoise Ruins alone were all powerful warriors. If it were not for the fact that he had discovered that Yi Chen was only at the 5th sky of life and death realm, he might have already escaped with his army. Soul attacks. When the distance between the two sides was less than 100,000 li, 500 soul attacks shot toward Yi Chen. Yi Chen's complexion remained unchanged as he forcefully withstood the 500 soul attacks. He, who had cultivated a blue soul ring, didn't consume a single strand of soul power. The blue soul ring could transform different kinds of soul power to replenish himself. Die. Taking out the dragon spring sword, Yi Chen threw out a sword attack. The dazzling sword light lit up the whole area. At first glance, Yi Chen looked like a sun. Boom. With one sword attack, all 500 people were killed. Broken armors and weapons floated in the air, along with those messy storage rings. With a wave of his hand, countless spoils of war turned into a flood and flowed into Yi Chen's storage ring. He had already entered the ruins a couple of times, and Yi Chen had collected a lot of extreme rank weapons and even more storage rings. If it were before, he would have sold them for yuan stones. But now, he didn't lack yuan stones. These extreme rank weapons could be stored in his family or martial school storage, and rewarded to those who had made great contributions. The broken extreme rank weapons could also be melted down and used as materials to train the first batch of extreme rank forgers. Next. After cleaning up the battlefield, Yi Chen turned around and left. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Yi Chen had slaughtered a large number of alien armies. There were 9 groups of 500 warriors, 3 groups of 1,000 warriors, and 1 group of 5,000 warriors. Only a few actually managed to escape. This was all thanks to the soul rings. Otherwise, Yi Chen wouldn't have been able to ignore so many soul attacks. A group of 50,000 warriors. On this day, Yi Chen discovered an army of 50,000 warriors, which meant that the leader of the army was a general. If it was a 3-star general, Yi Chen wouldn't be afraid. But, if it was a 4-star general, he could only run. After all, a true 4-star general's strength might be similar to Yi Chen's, but his equipment would definitely be better than Yi Chen's, and he would definitely have many Emperor-grade weapons. Emperor-grade weapons were extremely rare, and there was no market for them. Just like Emperor-grade battleships, ordinary people couldn't buy them even if they had yuan stones. Whatever, even if it's a 4-star general, he can't stop me if I want to leave. After a moment of hesitation, Yi Chen flew over without hesitation. General, enemies are coming. A Yakshaw soldier came to report. How many? The Yakshaw general was called Emperor Dolong, A 2-star general. One person. What? One person? Emperor Dolong was startled and promptly released his soul power. Soon, he discovered the rapidly approaching Yi Chen. When he discovered that the latter only had a cultivation base of 5th heavenly layer life and death realm, he couldn't help but sneer. He was truly courting death. Daring to come here alone, did he think that his army of 50,000 warriors was just for show? First group, listen to my command. Use soul attacks. Yes. Immediately, a dense array of soul attacks shot out. There were more than 5,000 of them, and the army was divided into 10 groups. Yi Chen's eyes turned and he started dodging, only being hit by 1 or 2,000 soul attacks. Hey! Emperor Dolong's eyes narrowed. Second group, third group, fourth group, begin soul attacks. This time, there were 15,000 attacks, and 5,000 of them hit Yi Chen. What made Emperor Dolong furious was that Yi Chen was unharmed. Damn! What kind of soul defense secret art is he cultivating? Everyone, listen to my command. Collective soul attacks. Emperor Dolong himself also released a sickle-shaped soul attack. He cultivated an Emperor-grade soul attack secret art. Although he hadn't reached it yet, it couldn't be underestimated. Puff 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 puff, 50,000 soul attacks blotted out the sky and covered the earth. Even if Yi Chen dodged as much as he could only dodge half of them. What made Yi Chen feel relieved was that although the blue soul ring shook intensely, it didn't show any signs of collapsing. Clearly, the 20,000 soul attacks hadn't pushed the blue soul ring to its limit. Instead, it had consumed a lot of soul power, roughly 5%, and this was under the condition of replenishment. It's my turn. Instantly entering the selfless emperor realm, Yi Chen unleashed a sword attack with all his strength. This sword was aimed at Emperor Dolong, and it was precisely the extreme Yang Sun essence transformation. A dazzling radiance filled the heaven and earth, and Emperor Dolong was sent flying while spurting out blood. In his vicinity, several hundred people were instantly annihilated. Yi Chen ignored the others and chased after Emperor Dolong. To him, killing a general was more valuable. But what he didn't know was that the situation here was seen by another general. This general was the same as Yi Chen, entering the Black Tortoise ruins alone. He was the general of demons. Chapter 1151. Powerful. To be able to resist several tens of thousands of soul attacks, he must have cultivated an extremely powerful Emperor-grade soul defense secret art. This sword art is also inconceivably powerful, allowing a 5th-layer life and death king to erupt with such frightening offensive power. Could it be an extreme 3rd revolution sword art? Demon Spear Emperor was a 4-star general of demons. Seeing Yi Chen's sword art, he was incomparably shocked. Generally speaking, those who could create extreme 3rd revolution martial arts were 8th-layer life and death king titled monarchs. There were also 7th-layer life and death kings, but they were extremely rare. Each of them was a peak genius whose strength couldn't be measured by the surface realm. However, Yi Chen was only at 5th-layer life and death realm, yet he had already created an extreme 3rd revolution sword art. How could he not be shocked? If this kid doesn't die, he'll become a disaster for us demons in the future. An intense killing intent flickered in the demonic spear emperor's eyes as he rushed over. As a 2-star general of Yaksha race, Dolong Emperor was clad in a low-grade emperor-grade armor, and the weapon in his hand was a peak heavenly king-grade weapon. However, facing Yi Chen's sword, he couldn't block it at all. Yi Chen's sword seemed to have condensed a sun. As soon as the sword slashed out, the blazing sword chi began to evaporate his blood and internal energy through the armor. Low-grade emperor-grade armor? Yi Chen's brows creased. A low-grade emperor-grade armor's defensive power was not inferior to a mid-heavenly king-grade set. However, Dolong Emperor was a titled monarch, and the defensive power he could display was even higher than Bloodspear King and God-blessed Queen. It seemed like killing him wouldn't be that easy. It would be better to kill these Yaksha soldiers first. Changing his target, Yi Chen slaughtered the Yaksha soldiers. With a wave of his sword, at least 500 to 600 Yaksha soldiers turned into blood mists. Dozens of sword strikes later, Yi Chen had already killed 7,000 to 8,000 people. It was a completely one-sided situation. As for the Yaksha soldiers, although they were attacking Yi Chen together, Yi Chen's sword domain had reached mid-5th layer, and it contained the power to condense space. Coupled with the mid-heavenly king grade set, not many attacks could land on his body. He could use the space profound to dodge the majority of the attacks. 9,000, 10,000, 12,000, 15,000. Like a tiger entering a flock of sheep, wherever Yi Chen went, there would be a rain of blood and a foul wind, and the intense sword light was unstoppable. Damn it! Go to hell! Emperor Dolan was blasted thousands of miles away by Yi Chen's sword. Seeing Yi Chen massacring the Yaksha soldiers, his eyes immediately turned red. The black spear in his hand turned into a black dragon and pounced at Yi Chen. Rank 3 martial art, Black Dragon Wave. Yi Chen took out another Heavenly King stage artifact sword. With a wave of his left hand, a fiery sword chi swept out towards the black dragon. Rumble. An earth-shattering explosion rang out. Hundreds of Yaksha soldiers within the range of the explosion were killed in an instant. Emperor Dolan spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying again. With 2 swords in his hands, Yi Chen showed the Yaksha soldiers what it meant to be a swordsman and a harvest. Little thief, die. At this moment, a sparkling spear light, like a black lightning bolt, suddenly attacked Yi Chen. Amazing. Yi Chen felt that this spear was very powerful, and if he was hit, he would be injured. Not daring to be careless, Yi Chen used the true Inferno sword to meet the attack. The explosion this time was even more powerful than before. 700 to 800 Yaksha soldiers were killed by the shockwave and turned into ashes. All of them hurriedly fled in all directions, trying to increase the distance between them. Raising his eyes, Yi Chen looked at the person who had come. It was a titled monarch of the demons. He was holding a black spear, and the flames on his body were very sharp. He was not on the same level as Emperor Dolan. After scanning the other party for a while, Yi Chen's eyes fell on the black spear in the other party's hand. High-grade Emperor weapon. Yi Chen's breathing stagnated. To be able to possess a high-grade Emperor weapon, he was at least a 3-star general, with the highest possibility of being a 4-star general. Emperor weapons were basically not sold on the market, and could only be bought in the army. Moreover, one had to have a battle record. If one could kill a 1-star general, one would be qualified to buy a low-grade Emperor weapon. If one killed a 2-star general, one would be qualified to buy a mid-grade Emperor weapon. If one killed a 3-star general, one would be qualified to buy a mid-grade Emperor weapon. Yi Chen wanted to kill Emperor Dolan because he wanted to be qualified to buy a mid-grade Emperor weapon. After all, in the paradise of gods, one could exchange for a high-grade Heavenly King set. Of course, killing an honorary commander could also buy an Emperor weapon. Yi Chen had killed the Yaksha race's 1-star Blood Diamond commander, King Mol, and the Greenman race's 2-star Jade commander, King Blue Devil. Unfortunately, Yi Chen did not know this at that time, so he did not collect King Mol's 1-star Blood Diamond commander badge and King Blue Devil's 2-star Jade commander badge. It had to be known that an honorary commander badge and an ordinary commander badge were different in style, but there was no difference in essence. One had to use an honorary badge to prove whether one had killed a 1-star Blood Diamond commander badge or a 2-star Jade commander badge. He blocked my spear. He is stronger than I thought. The black spear in the Demon Spear Emperor's hand was a high-grade Emperor weapon, the Black Moon Spear. It could bring his attack power to a whole new level. Even so, the spear just now could not do anything to Yi Chen. Although the spear had come in a hurry, and he did not use any powerful martial arts, it was not something an ordinary person could block. His cultivation is higher than mine, and his weapon is better than mine. Fortunately, those are the only two. Yi Chen estimated his opponent's strength. Compared to his opponent, Yi Chen was at a disadvantage in terms of cultivation and weapon. Their cultivation bases were 2 heavenly layers lower, and their weapons were several levels lower. His Dragon Spring sword was just a Heavenly King artifact sword. It had been reforged and upgraded to a top-tier Heavenly King artifact sword, but it was still 3 levels lower than his opponent's spear. However, it was not that Yi Chen did not have any advantages. Otherwise, he would not have been able to block his opponent's spear. Yi Chen's sword domain was much higher than his opponent's, at the mid-stage of the 5th level. His sword arts were also many times more powerful. Take my black moon soul seizing. The demon spear emperor roared and stabbed out with his spear. The spear light condensed into a black crescent moon, slashing towards Yi Chen at an extreme speed. Yi Chen did not dodge. The dragon spring sword trembled, and the sun essence extreme transformation was executed. In the next moment, a black crescent moon and a dazzling sword chi clashed together. The entire world was half dark and half bright. The scene was spectacular, yet tragic. Puff. Spurting out a mouthful of blood, Yi Chen was injured. In terms of personal strength, the 4-star general was not stronger than him. However, the 4-star general had a high-level emperor weapon, which was his greatest advantage. Furthermore, his cultivation base was too low, and he could not bring out the defensive power of the mid-heavenly king set to the next level. Haha, you can also be injured. Die. Seeing that Yi Chen was injured, the demon spear emperor calmed down and attacked Yi Chen again and again. There was not much of a gap in between. Brothers, kill. Emperor Dolan came to his senses. Seeing that the demon spear emperor was killing Yi Chen in a sorry state, he was very happy, but then he was extremely angry. In a short period of time, Yi Chen had actually killed 15,000 Yaksha race soldiers. This was too despicable. With a loud shout, Emperor Dolan ordered all the Yaksha race soldiers to attack Yi Chen with their souls. As for himself, he joined forces with the Demon Spear Emperor to attack Yi Chen. The Demon Spear Emperor did not care about Emperor Dolan's help. To him, it was enough to kill Yi Chen. There was no need to kill him one-on-one. That would be very stupid. Outside, there were tens of thousands of soul attacks, and inside, there were 2 titled monarchs attacking him. Yi Chen was in a predicament. Dang. Using his left hand to block Emperor Dolan's attack, Yi Chen's right hand shook, and he used Moment of Glory. The sword light merged into the void, and directly slashed at the Demon Spear Emperor. Unfortunately, this sword attack was futile. The armor on the Demon Spear Emperor's body was also an Emperor-grade artifact. It was a mid-Emperor-grade armor, and its defense was even higher than Emperor Dolan. With Yi Chen's current attack, he could not do anything to the opponent. Although Yi Chen had the strength of a peak battle emperor, the Demon Spear Emperor had the strength of a low-level battle emperor. The 7th and 8th layer of Life and Death Realm were both titled monarchs. However, the title of a 7th layer monarch could only contain the word emperor, and not emperor. Only the title of an 8th layer monarch could contain the word emperor. Relying on the Black Moon Spear, the Demon Spear Emperor had the strength of a low-level battle emperor. Fortunately, Yi Chen had already cultivated to the Blue Soul Ring realm, and could resist wave after wave of soul attacks. Otherwise, he would have died miserably here. 10%. 20%. Soon, 20% of Yi Chen's soul power was consumed, and the enemy's soul attacks were also becoming sparse. After all, they could not endlessly launch soul attacks. 3 or 4 waves of soul attacks was already not bad. Right now, the real threat came from the Demon Spear Emperor and Dolan Emperor. Go. Borrowing the explosive power of the 2 sides, Yi Chen suddenly flew out like a blue bird, transforming into countless phantoms. Stop him. Dolan Emperor's eyes turned red as he yelled. Immediately, thousands of Yaksha soldiers blocked Yi Chen's escape route. Die. Man and sword as one, Yi Chen attacked. Puff 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 puff. Blood splattered unceasingly, and Yi Chen's momentum slowed down. The Demon Spear Emperor and Dolan Emperor chased after him again. You want to stop me? In your dreams. The sword domain outside Yi Chen's body suddenly expanded to its limit, and a powerful condensing power spread out. Apart from the Demon Spear Emperor and Dolan Emperor, everyone else was affected. Swish. In an instant, Yi Chen got rid of the obstacles. Without any obstacles, it would be difficult for the Demon Spear Emperor and Dolan Emperor to catch up to Yi Chen. Yi Chen's split sword domain could allow his speed to reach a frightening level, not inferior to a titled monarch. Damn it. After chasing for a while, the Demon Spear Emperor and Dolan Emperor stopped, their expressions ugly. Yi Chen not only had terrifying battle prowess, but he was also very good at escaping. Even the 2 of them and tens of thousands of Yaksha soldiers couldn't stop him. This kind of person was the most dangerous and difficult to deal with. Millions of miles away, Yi Chen slowed down. High-class emperor rank weapons are too powerful. It's hard to resist with just the dragon spring sword. Seems like I have to find an emperor rank sword. This time, Yi Chen planned to target honorary commanders. Honorary commanders were easier to kill. 2-star generals and above all had emperor rank weapons. If they had emperor rank armors, it would be too difficult to kill them. This had nothing to do with strength. It was all about defense, just like Dolan Emperor. Chapter 1152. Of course, this was also due to Yi Chen's lack of luck. If Emperor Dolong didn't have a low-grade emperor-grade armor, but a low-grade emperor-grade weapon, Yi Chen might have been able to kill him. After all, the majority of 2-star generals could only kill one 1-star general, and could only purchase a low-grade emperor-grade weapon. Whether one chose a defensive or offensive weapon depended entirely on one's inclination. Why were 3-star generals and 4-star generals so powerful? It was because in order to become a 3-star general, one had to kill a 1-star general. A 2-star general could choose a low emperor-grade weapon, a medium emperor-grade weapon, and a 4-star general were even more powerful. They could choose a low emperor-grade weapon, a medium emperor-grade weapon, and a high emperor-grade weapon, which could be used for both offense and defense. If Yi Chen wanted to obtain an emperor-grade sword as soon as possible, he could only set his sights on a 1-star general or an honorary commander. I'll recover my Jin Yuan first. Compared to soul power, Yi Chen's Jin Yuan consumption was severe. He only had 20 to 30% left. Battling Dolong Emperor and Demonic Spear Emperor, he didn't consume much Jin Yuan. The majority of it was used to defend against several tens of thousands of Yaksha soldiers. Quantitative change could lead to qualitative change, and this could work at any time. Although Yi Chen had instant sword domain, which had reached the mid-5th layer, and was wearing a mid-grade Heavenly King armor, he was, after all, facing several tens of thousands of life and death kings. A casual wave of attacks would contain over 1,000 attacks, and the consumption of Jin Yuan was unimaginable. Normally, when encountering several tens of thousands of kings, one should not clash head-on. One had to slaughter their way through and not let them join hands to attack. Otherwise, even if one could resist, one's Jin Yuan would be completely consumed. Unless Yi Chen's cultivation base reached the 7th layer, he would have enough Jin Yuan to support it. Recovering Jin Yuan for life and death kings consumed a lot of Yuan stones. With Yi Chen's 5th layer cultivation base, recovering 70 to 80% of his Jin Yuan would cost him 100,000 Yuan stones. Why would life and death kings risk their lives to earn Yuan stones? Increasing cultivation base was one thing, but recovering Jin Yuan was the most important. Without Yuan stones, who knew how many days it would take to recover Jin Yuan through seclusion? After flying for a while, Yi Chen found a huge meteor several dozen li in diameter. With a puff, Yi Chen drilled inside and carved out a spacious stone room before sitting down cross-legged. 50,000 yuan. $100,000. 150,000 yuan. $180,000. After refining 180,000 yuan stones, Yi Chen had finally recovered his Jin Yuan to its peak. As for soul force, there was no way around it. You could only rely on it to slowly recover, or you could use elixirs or treasures to replenish soul force. Walking out of the stone chamber, Yi Chen randomly chose a direction and flew out. This was a vast meteorite field. The meteorite field was hundreds of millions of miles long, and the widest part was over 10 million miles wide. It was constantly shifting, and in the center of the meteorite field, two armies were engaged in a fierce battle. One was the army of demons, numbering 5,000, and the other was the army of humans, also numbering 5,000. Dazzling energy waves shot out in all directions, annihilating meteorites one after another. Shockwaves spread out, and people fell one after another. It was incomparably tragic and spectacular. We can't hold on much longer. Among the human army, there were 7 members of the Paradise of Gods, including Huang Fu Yu. Initially, Yi Chen had joined Huang Fu Yu's Frost Battle Team, but later, he heard that Huang Fu Yu reached the 9th floor of the God of War Pagoda and became a high-level member of the Paradise of Gods, joining a high-level battle team, the Starship Battle Team. The captain of the Starship Battle Team, the Celestial River King, was the leader of the 4 great quasi-emperors of the Paradise of Gods. He was very powerful and held the rank of commander in the army. This human army was led by him. Unfortunately, they had bad luck this time. They unexpectedly encountered an army of demons led by a dark commander. To become a dark commander, one naturally had the strength of a war emperor. The difference between a quasi-emperor and a war emperor was not just 1 or 2 points. As such, the Celestial River King was not an opponent of the other party. Die. The Devil Face King was a 1-star dark commander. Even if the 7 members of the Starship Battle Team besieged him, they would still be sweating profusely. Puff. The 7 people were blown away by the powerful energy waves and spat out mouthfuls of blood. Eyes filled with killing intent, the Devil Face King rushed to the front of the Celestial River King and swung his mace. He was confident that this mace could smash the Celestial River King into a blood mist. Ice Emperor / Huang Fu Yu, under the care of the 6 people, did not suffer many attacks. At this time, she did not care about becoming the target of the Devil Face King. An icy blue arc-shaped blade light slashed at the mace, deflecting the other party's attack trajectory. Taking advantage of this gap, the Celestial River King quickly dodged and immediately cast a grateful look at Huang Fu Yu. "You're courting death." The Devil Face King was furious and rushed towards Huang Fu Yu. The mace in his hand suddenly grew to thousands of meters long. The huge mace looked like a hill covered with iron thorns. All the meteorites in its path exploded. "Am I going to die?" Huang Fu Yu could not stop it. The other party's attack speed was too fast. Huang Fu Yu, long time no see. At this moment, a sword light followed the gap between the meteorites and slashed towards the mace. With a clang, the mace was sent flying by the sword chi, and a few of the iron thorns on it were cut off. As for the Devil Face King, his entire right arm burst into a blood mist, and he instantly retreated hundreds of miles away. Yi Chen. Hearing this familiar voice, Huang Fu Yu abruptly turned her head. Before this sword chi, Yi Chen was still a million miles away. But after this sword chi, Yi Chen was already tens of thousands of miles behind Huang Fu Yu. Swish. With a flash of blue light, Yi Chen's figure instantly appeared. "It's Yi Chen." Celestial River King and the rest of the Starship Troopers also recognized Yi Chen. Yi Chen was known to almost everyone in the Paradise of Gods. In less than 10 years, he had become a battle emperor from a newcomer. This kind of progress was shocking. His contemporaries, peerless King Aju and lifeless swordsman Lung Feifen, had only reached the 8th floor of the God of War pagoda. In the history of the Paradise of Gods, there had been such figures. But in the past 2 years, Yi Chen's progress had not slowed down, but instead increased. He suddenly became the top battle emperor in the high-level hunting battlefield, the battle emperor of the Paradise of True Gods. Those battle emperors from the Paradise of Gods trembled in front of him. They did not even have the fighting spirit to fight and directly ran away. While the senior members of the Paradise of Gods felt happy, they also secretly thought that Yi Chen was too abnormal. "I didn't expect to meet you here." "Thank you." For some reason, Huang Fu Yu was in a good mood. "I just happened to bump into you." From 900 million miles away, Yi Chen discovered the situation here. Whether or not there was a dark commander in the Demon's army, he would come over. After all, they were all members of the Paradise of Gods. "Yi Chen, it's all thanks to you this time. Otherwise, we would have suffered heavy losses, and the chances of us leaving alive would have been slim." Celestial River King said gratefully. "Leave this demon to me, you deal with the others." The war was still going on, and now was not the time to catch up. "Okay." Nodding, Celestial River King led 6 people and charged towards the demon's army. In a short time, the humans had lost more than 1,000 people, while the demons had only lost 500 or 600 people. "Kid, who are you?" Demon Mask King looked at Yi Chen vigilantly. The sword chi had come too suddenly, and he could not react in time. But there was no doubt that Yi Chen was strong, at least a 1-star purple gold commander. Dead people don't need to know the answer. Raising the dragon spring sword, Yi Chen swung it and displayed the true Inferno sword. boasting shamelessly. The Devil Mask King roared. The mace in his hand was like a huge mountain as he rushed forward to meet Lin Fan's attack. A sound like an egg breaking rang out, and Demon Mask King's body paused. The next moment, blood mist scattered, and smoke scattered. With Yi Chen's strength, even a 3-star Dark Commander was not his opponent, not to mention a 1-star Dark Commander like Demon Mask King. After killing Demon Mask King, Yi Chen stretched out his hand, and a 1-star Dark Commander badge fell into Yi Chen's hand. With this badge, Yi Chen was qualified to buy a low-rank Emperor-grade artifact. Putting away Demon Mask King's storage ring, armor, and mace, Yi Chen began to help the human army slaughter the demon's army. Since both sides were engaged in a chaotic battle, Yi Chen couldn't use any big moves, and could only kill small groups of them. Fortunately, his efficiency wasn't bad. In a dozen breaths' time, over 1,000 demonic race soldiers had died under his sword. Run! Demon Mask King's tragic death caused the morale of the demon's army to waver. They frantically tried to escape. However, this place was full of meteorites, and they could not increase their speed to the limit. One meteorite could not slow down one's speed, but hundreds of thousands of meteorites were enough to reduce one's speed to the lowest point. In a short while, out of the 5,000 demons, less than 100 managed to escape. The speed at which the situation was reversed was astonishing. Haha, great. The human army's morale soared. Yi Chen, why are you alone in the Black Tortoise ruins? As the rest of the human soldiers were collecting their spoils, Galaxy River King's group of 7 flew over. Yi Chen said, leading a team is too troublesome. It's more comfortable to be alone. If he wanted to go, he could go, and if he wanted to fight, he could fight. Right, with your strength, leading a team is indeed troublesome. Galaxy River King nodded and secretly envied Yi Chen's strength. If he had Yi Chen's strength, he would also go to the Black Tortoise ruins alone, just like Yi Chen. After chatting for half an hour, Yi Chen said his goodbyes and said, this is the core area. You'd better step back a little. I'll take my leave first. Leaving so soon? Huang Fu, you asked. In the future, I'll treat you to a drink in the paradise of gods. With a smile, Yi Chen turned around and disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. The dense meteorites could not stop him, and he could always fly through the gaps between the meteorites. What a strange person. The Celestial River King sighed. Yi Chen's free and easy posture was destined to leave a deep impression in their hearts. Although he killed a 1-star Dark Commander, Yi Chen had not decided to leave the Black Tortoise ruins yet. He intended to stay for a while and see if he could gain more. After all, there was a huge gap between a low-level Emperor-grade weapon and a middle-level Emperor-grade weapon. Moreover, he also planned to get some Emperor-grade weapons for Xu Jing and Murong Qingcheng. Chapter 1153. The Black Tortoise ruins was inconceivably huge. Its diameter was calculated in light years. Even light would need many years to travel this distance. However, the core area of the Black Tortoise ruins wasn't very big. It was only a few 100 trillion miles in radius. The reason why there was a core area was because there was a black hole in the center of the Black Tortoise ruins. This black hole had a powerful gravitational force that slowly attracted the mass of the Black Tortoise ruins. Over time, the core area was formed. There were a lot of junk in the core area, such as meteorites, broken planets, and some dangerous cosmic wonders. Compared to the outer area of Black Tortoise ruins, the core area was 100 times more dangerous. Of course, if one's strength was high and luck was not too bad, the so-called danger was only relative. Flying in the vacuum of the core area, Yi Chen sensed the aura of destruction and couldn't help but sigh. Back then, when the human race and the alien race battled, the destruction caused was enormous. As far as the eye could see, meteorites could be seen everywhere. These meteorites used to be part of some planet. Some were palm-sized, while some were as big as a mountain. Added together, there were billions and billions of them. It was simply impossible to count. Occasionally, Yi Chen could even see 1 or 2 broken planets. Of course, they were not ordinary planets, but broken planets with life. Ordinary planets couldn't be preserved at all. They were too fragile, and the gravitational force of the black hole could slowly distort and disintegrate them. Not only were the life planets huge, but they also contained unimaginably frightening energy. On a life planet, one's destructive power would be reduced by hundreds and thousands of times. It was simply impossible to carry out large-scale destruction. Only ninth-layer life and death supremes could destroy a life planet. Just now, when Yi Chen flew past a life planet with a diameter of 10 million li, he clearly saw a huge palm imprint on it. Although the imprint was blurry, Yi Chen's heart stopped beating as soon as he looked at it. It was too frightening. Although the imprint was left a long time ago, the martial intent on it still carried a destructive killing power. Yi Chen suspected that if he got too close, his soul would collapse. This palm imprint was simply beyond the scope of human strength. It could even be called the imprint of a deity. Compared to the owner of this imprint, Yi Chen felt insignificant, like a speck of dust. 9 heavens of life and death realm. One step at a time. You can't compare. Yi Chen couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Although there were 2 heavens between the 9th and 7th layer, and 4 heavens between the 5th layer and 5th layer, the gap was like a chasm. Moreover, the further one went, the bigger the gap would be. From the 6th layer to the 7th layer was a chasm, and from the 7th layer to the 8th layer was an even bigger chasm. From the 8th layer to the 9th layer was a supreme chasm. With one step, one would become a supreme, the supreme of the universe. However, the huge gap did not affect Yi Chen. Instead, it completely stimulated Yi Chen's fighting spirit. After flying for a few billion li, Yi Chen saw another broken life planet. This one was even bigger than the previous one, more than 10 million li wide. There was no palm imprint on it, but rather a several million li wide fist imprint. The fist imprint was immeasurably deep, probably hundreds of thousands of li deep. This was a life planet. If it were an ordinary planet, even if it were 100 times bigger, it would have been shattered by a single fist imprint. However, life planets were rather special. They couldn't be shattered into pieces at once, and the energy contained within could counteract the destructive power by 1,000 times. Of course, the energy of this life planet had already leaked out, and not much remained. If not for the fist intent supporting it, it would have disintegrated long ago. Why don't I experience the fist imprint's owner's fist intent? Yi Chen's heart was moved. He decided to experience the fist intent of a 9th layer life and death supreme. 30 million li. 20 million li. 20 million li. So powerful. Yi Chen's expression changed. He felt waves of boundless fist intent coming right at him, giving him a sense of fear that he had never felt before. 20 million li. 18 million li. 15 million li. At this moment, Yi Chen's face suddenly turned pale. In his perception, a towering giant furiously roared and blasted a fist at him. This fist wasn't very big at first, but in an instant, it filled the entire world, as if the world was about to be shattered by it. Puff! Spurting out a mouthful of blood, Yi Chen's entire body was sent flying backwards. He was wounded by the fist intent, his indestructible blue spirit ring had also been shattered, followed by the blue and green spirit rings, and only when he reached the yellow spirit ring did he barely stabilize himself. Too powerful? Yi Chen had a lingering fear in his heart. Even at such a distance, the remnant fist intent of a 9th layer life and death sovereign was actually able to injure him. If he hadn't been cautious and used the soul ring secret art to approach it, his soul would have been severely injured, and there was even a possibility that his soul would have been destroyed. This greatly puzzled him. No matter how powerful a 9th layer life and death sovereign was, it shouldn't be this tyrannical. If before, Yi Chen only suspected that if he got too close, his soul would collapse. But now, Yi Chen was sure that if he got too close, his life would be in danger. Could it be the power of a supreme martial skill? Supreme martial skills were supreme martial skills that had reached the peak of martial skills. It was normal for them to contain some tyrannical nature, and this was the only reasonable explanation. After all, the martial will was only at the 9th step, and Yi Chen's immortal sword intent was only at the 7th step, which was only 2 steps away from the 9th step. The remnant will of the 9th step couldn't injure him from a distance of 15 million li. Of course, Yi Chen also knew that the might of a ninth layer life and death supreme was greater than others. A ninth layer life and death supreme, Yi Chen murmured to himself, then turned around and left. Along the way, Yi Chen annihilated a lot of alien races. Unfortunately, honorary commanders were not that easy to come across. For example, human race only had 50 honorary commanders, and the death of one was one less. The total number of honorary commanders of alien races was only a few hundred. Encountering one occasionally was reasonable, but encountering one frequently, even Yi Chen didn't believe that he would be so lucky. Unknowingly, 3 days passed. On this day, Yi Chen arrived near a huge life planet. This life planet couldn't be considered broken, but it wasn't complete either. On its surface, there were dozens of huge holes. These holes weren't formed naturally, but seemed to have been made by spears. The diameter of the holes was about the same, several tens of thousands of li. The depths were somewhat frightening, extending all the way to the depths of the life planet. Vaguely, one could see the magma inside the planet through the holes, which was dark red in color. Clearly, the energy of this life planet hadn't completely leaked out yet. The life planet was like a honeycomb floating alone in the vacuum. From time to time, human figures would enter the planet through the holes. Sometimes it was a single person, sometimes it was a group of 2 or 3, and sometimes it was an entire army. Since Yi Chen was too far away, these people didn't notice Yi Chen. There must be something mysterious inside. Yi Chen didn't believe that these people entered the planet for fun. There must be something attracting them. However, he was sure that it was extremely dangerous inside. Not only was the environment dangerous, but the enemies were even more dangerous. Who knew what kind of experts he would encounter inside? Activating his soul eyes to the limit, Yi Chen wanted to see through the entire life planet. After trying hard for a few breaths, Yi Chen had no choice but to close his soul eyes. The energy level of this life planet was too high, and he couldn't see through it, even if it was only a life planet with incomplete energy. If he wanted to see the mysteries, he would have to go in and take a look himself. Swish! Without much hesitation, Yi Chen's figure flickered, flying toward the life planet. After dozens of breaths, Yi Chen entered through a hole. The hole was very deep, and waves of hot wind blew out. It was hot enough to melt metal, and the deeper he went, the higher the temperature. After a while, Yi Chen arrived at the inner part of the life planet. So hot. As far as the eye could see, there was a black-red color everywhere. It wasn't a black-red flame, but a black-red liquid. This place was like a cast cave, extending in all directions. His soul power was greatly restricted in this place, and could only extend to a few thousand miles away. If the energy level was too high, it would also have a huge impact on his soul power. Grabbing a handful of black-red liquid from the surface of the lava, a sizzling sound could be heard. This black-red liquid seemed to be formed by energy, and it had a very strong burning power. Yi Chen guessed that this black-red liquid should be the lava inside the life planet, a mixture of lava and energy. Without touching the ground, Yi Chen followed the lava tunnel and walked forward. There were too many lava tunnels, and after half an hour, Yi Chen could not find the way back anymore. So, Yi Chen made up his mind and did not care about anything else. He just walked as he pleased. Tchem. This is. When passing through a lava tunnel, Yi Chen suddenly stopped. He reached out his hand and made a grabbing gesture. A red gem on the left side of the lava wall landed on his hand. This is a spirit power fire crystal. Yi Chen was shocked. Spirit power fire crystals and spirit power crystal stones were two different things, but they had the same effect, which was the power to train the spirit body. The difference was that spirit power crystal stones came from Sea of Souls realm warriors and Life and Death realm warriors, while the spirit power fire crystal was a natural product, which was very rare. Unfortunately, it is only a low-level spirit power fire crystal. Low-level spirit power fire crystals were only effective for rank 1 and 2 spirit bodies, while mid-level spirit power fire crystals were effective for rank 3 and 4 spirit bodies. High-level spirit power fire crystals were effective for rank 5 and 6 spirit bodies. Right now, Yi Chen was only at rank 5 spirit body. If he wanted to train his spirit body, he would have to get high-level spirit power fire crystals. Of course, Yi Chen would not be able to use them, but Yi Chen's parents could, since they were both at rank 2 spirit bodies. Putting away the spirit power fire crystal, Yi Chen kept walking forward with anticipation. Another one. There is one here as well. Within half a day, Yi Chen had gotten 7 spirit power fire crystals, 6 of which were low level and 1 of which was mid-level. Yi Chen now understood why so many people had entered this life planet. It was because of some special reason that this life planet had started to produce spirit power fire crystals, which was a rare opportunity. Life and death realm warriors who did not train their body would have a hard time training their spirit body. They would have to rely on external things to train it, and it was the same for Yi Chen. Chapter 1154. The lava tunnel was connected in all directions, and it was 100 times more complicated than the most complicated maze. Hundreds of thousands of experts of various races were walking inside. Some were alone, like Yi Chen, some were in groups, obviously friends, and some were a well-disciplined army. Fortunately, the lava tunnel was very wide, and it didn't seem too crowded. In one of the lava tunnels, a 5,000-strong evil spirit army was advancing. Leader, why do I feel that the temperature is rising, and the airflow seems to be speeding up? A person beside the evil spirit leader said. Perhaps they're going deeper and deeper into the desolate planet. This life planet was called Desolate Planet, and it was a fire-attributed planet. Leader, do you think it's the Perish firestorm? Don't jinx it. How can a Perish firestorm appear so easily? It usually only appears once every few decades. The last time was more than a decade ago, which is still a long time ago. The Perish firestorm was the most frightening disaster on Desolate Planet. Once it appeared, anyone below the 7th layer of life and death realm would be in danger. However, the Perish firestorm did not appear often. According to the pattern, it would appear once every few decades. As for the reason for its appearance, it was related to the planet's energy exhaustion. Every time a Perish firestorm occurred, the planet's energy would weaken by a bit. After flying for dozens of li, a dazzling spark suddenly flashed on the evil spirit leader's protective evil power. At the same time, the airflow in the lava tunnel crazily accelerated. Fuck, it's really the Perish firestorm. Retreat. The evil spirit leader let out a mournful scream and turned around to flee. When the others heard the words Perish firestorm, their minds went blank. Perish firestorm, it was actually the Perish firestorm. Didn't they say that it only appeared once every few decades? It had only been a decade or so since the last one. They were a beat slower in their days. Only when the evil spirit leader and the others disappeared without a trace did they react. Immediately, ghostly wails and wolf howls rang out. Thousands of people were like bees in a nest, exploding with their speed to the limit. Some even used secret arts that would damage their cultivation base just to increase their speed a bit. The ghostly wails and wolf howls were not limited to this place. As long as one entered the desolate planet, who would not be afraid of the Perish firestorm? After all, there were not many who had reached the 7th layer of life and death realm. What's the situation? Compared to before, the airflow in the lava channel was several hundred times faster, and it was still increasing. With every breath, there would be a new change. After several breaths, the airflow had surged 1,000 times faster than before. Not only that, but on the surface of Yi Chen's protective Jin Yuan, sparks were flying everywhere. It was as if his protective Jin Yuan had been ignited. Not daring to be negligent, Yi Chen instantly stimulated the power of the Iron Blood Deep Blue set. The set light combined with his protective Jin Yuan, making him impregnable. Kai. 2,000 times. 3,000 times, 5,000 times, 6,000 times, 8,000 times, 10,000 times. Soon, the speed of the airflow reached an astonishing 10,000 times. Coupled with the frighteningly high temperature, it could melt almost any metal material. Yi Chen estimated that this high-temperature airflow could most likely kill a first-layer life and death realm heavenly king, and even a second-layer life and death realm king would not be able to hold on for long. I'm afraid this is just the prelude. The high-temperature airflow was not scary. What was scary was the disaster that followed. Yi Chen could vaguely feel that the entire planet was shaking. Boom. This guess didn't last long, and it quickly came true. From the center of the desolate planet, an extremely frightening black-red energy erupted. Since this energy wasn't powerful enough to tear the planet apart, it urgently needed to vent. Therefore, the lava channel became the best outlet. Compared to the high-temperature airflow, the black-red energy surged at an astonishing speed, causing the entire planet to shake and rumble. Ah! Miserable screams resounded without end. The life and death kings who were relatively close to the center could only let out a scream before they were ignited and turned into ashes. Under the wash of the black-red energy, unless one escaped from the desolate planet, they could only passively endure. If they couldn't, they would naturally perish. Run! Run! The kings who had just entered regretted so much that their intestines turned green. Why didn't they come a bit later? Why were they so unlucky to run into the fallen firestorm? They didn't want to die. Their lives had just begun, and only a fraction of their 100,000 years had passed. There's actually such a frightening energy storm. Yi Chen crossed his arms in front of him, but his body was still pushed back by the black-red energy. His Jin Yuan flowed out like water, unceasingly replenishing his protective Jin Yuan. Even Yi Chen found it so difficult to resist, let alone others. The first to die were the kings with cultivation base lower than 4th layer. Before the fallen firestorm, they were nothing but cannon fodder. The black-red energy first tore apart their protective Jin Yuan, then turned their bodies into ashes. From start to finish, they didn't have any leeway to resist. Soon after, some 5th layer life and death kings died. They were different from Yi Chen. Yi Chen had the Iron Blood Deep Blue set, as well as the mid-5th layer sword domain. In terms of defense, they were much weaker than Yi Chen. Finally, it was the turn of the 6th layer life and death kings. The majority of 6th layer life and death realm heavenly kings were very ordinary. They didn't have heavenly king grade suits, nor did they have powerful domains. They could only rely on their higher cultivation base to resist. Unfortunately, in front of the meteor firestorm, only 7th layer life and death realm cultivation base could do anything. Looking from the outside, the entire desolate planet seemed incomparably majestic. Tens of thousands of li-thick black-red energy pillars erupted one after another, reaching hundreds of millions of li away. It looked like a huge hedgehog, or a glowing hornet's nest. However, this hornet's nest was a bit too big. After about 20 breaths of time, the fallen firestorm gradually weakened. Of the hundreds of thousands of kings, less than 100 survived. The death rate was over 99%, no, 999%. Huff. Letting out a deep breath, Yi Chen uncrossed his arms. In a short period of time, he had consumed 30% of his Jin Yuan. It was more intense than a battle of several thousand rounds. Fortunately, there was no mishap in the end. The black-red energy wasn't enough to tear apart his defense. In another lava passage, a beautiful woman wearing a fiery feather robe also lowered her slender right hand that was blocking the fallen firestorm. Her expression was calm, but the aura leaking from her body was incomparably fiery, as if she herself was a fiery energy body. The second fallen firestorm in a dozen years. Seems like the desolate planet has entered a true energy exhaustion period. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. Yi Chen suddenly discovered that the number of sparks had increased. Every now and then, there would be a fire crystal. Before long, Yi Chen had obtained 24 fire crystals, 18 of which were low-grade, and 6 of which were mid-grade. Could it be that the energy storm brought the fire crystals out? Yi Chen guessed. Yi Chen's guess was right. The fire crystals did come from the center of the desolate planet. Every time there was a fallen firestorm, there would be a large amount of fire crystals spewing out. As he went deeper, Yi Chen obtained more and more fire crystals. In the beginning, there were more low-grade fire crystals, and then there were more mid-grade fire crystals. After 2 hours, Yi Chen had obtained a total of 150 low-grade fire crystals and 120 mid-grade fire crystals. Unfortunately, he hadn't found a single high-grade fire crystal yet. Fire crystals were divided into 3 grades: low-grade, mid-grade, and high-grade. Fire crystals were divided into 9 grades, and high-grade fire crystals were equivalent to grade 5 or grade 6 ones. If he could obtain one, it would be extremely useful for Yi Chen. If he could obtain 10 or more, he might be able to help Yi Chen break through to a grade 6 spirit body. As for the spirit crystals, they were too rare. If one had a grade 1 spirit body when they were alive, only grade 1 spirit crystals would form in their bones after death, and it would take a long time. For example, if Yi Chen's body wasn't destroyed, his bones would only form grade 5 spirit crystals after death. There was no way he could form grade 6 spirit crystals. However, other than body refiners, how many people could have a spirit body above grade 6, and the prerequisite was that their bodies weren't destroyed? Of course, there were some treasures that could refine the spirit body, such as the blood crystal flower, the blood demon crystal, and the extremely rare sky demon fire spirit fruit. Unknowingly, Yi Chen had arrived at the depths of Desolate Planet. This was a huge lava space. In the center of the lava space, there was a lava pillar that was hundreds of meters thick, connected to the top. The surface of the lava pillar was shining with a fiery red light. This is... Yi Chen's eyes lit up. There were thousands of fire crystals on the lava pillar. His previous harvest paled in comparison to the fire crystals on the lava pillar. Most importantly, there were dozens of extremely powerful fire crystals. They were clearly high-grade fire crystals. Hihi, the heavens are really kind to me, the Green Demon Emperor. Dozens of fire crystals are enough to upgrade my spirit body from early grade 6 to mid-grade 6. From the third passage, a green-skinned titled monarch walked out. He was more than 3 meters tall and had thick muscles. He even had a crocodile-like tail behind him. Titled monarch of the green human race. Yi Chen looked over. Brat, if you leave now, I can spare your life. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave alive. The Green Demon Emperor released his aura and threatened. Childish. In an instant, Yi Chen spread out his sword domain and rushed toward the lava pillar. Bastard. The Green Demon Emperor's eyes were filled with killing intent as he also rushed over. Shua. With a suction force, hundreds of fire crystals fell into Yi Chen's hand. But at the same time, the Green Demon Emperor had already closed in and slashed at his head. Boom. The energy exploded, and the lava pillar broke apart. The remaining fire crystals scattered in all directions, hitting the walls of the lava space and making puffing sounds. Collecting the fire crystals first is more important. Yi Chen didn't want to fight with the Green Demon Emperor for the time being. The shockwaves from their battle might destroy this space, and it would be difficult to collect fire crystals. Chapter 1155. I'll spare your life for now. The Green Demon Emperor could also see the destruction caused by the aftermath of the battle. After this battle, not even a single fire crystal could be seen. Instead of that, it was better to collect fire crystals first. After collecting all the fire crystals, he would kill Yi Chen and seize his wealth and crystals. With their abilities, collecting fire crystals was naturally very fast. In less than half an hour, all the fire crystals had been collected. Yi Chen obtained 28 high-level fire crystals, 980 mid-level fire crystals, and more than 1,000 low-level fire crystals, totaling more than 1,500. The Green Demon Emperor, on the other hand, had much less than Yi Chen. He only obtained 12 high-level fire crystals, more than 300 mid-level fire crystals, and more than 500 low-level fire crystals. Brat, spit out the fire crystals, and I can show mercy and leave your corpse intact. The Green Demon Emperor's pair of green eyes stared at Yi Chen. As a 3-star general, the Green Demon Emperor had a mid-level Emperor-grade armor and a low-level Emperor-grade weapon. Although his strength couldn't compare to a 4-star general, it would still be difficult for a 4-star general to kill him. In terms of difficulty, a general's promotion was definitely more difficult than a purple-gold commander's. A purple-gold commander's combat strength was high enough, but if a general wanted to promote, they would have to step over the corpses of other generals to succeed. However, sometimes, even if the difference in combat strength was 10 times or even tens of times higher, they might not be able to kill the other. After all, which general didn't have an Emperor-grade armor? I'll return those words to you. Yi Chen didn't take the other party seriously. At his level, Even a 4-star general could only defeat him at most. They wouldn't be able to cause too much damage to him. Courting death. With a flick of his tail, the Green Demon Emperor appeared in front of Yi Chen like a ghost. A thick green palm slashed towards Yi Chen. Yi Chen unsheathed his sword and blocked this attack. Peng! A shockwave spread out, causing cracks to appear in the lava space. Chem! There's something going on. The Green Demon Emperor was somewhat astonished. Yi Chen's cultivation base was at the 5th layer of life and death realm, which was 2 whole heavens lower than him. Normally speaking, the difference in Jin Yuan between a 5th layer and a 7th layer was 1,000 times. Of course, this was the sum of Jin Yuan quantity and quality. It's not over yet. His body suddenly spun in the air as the Green Demon Emperor's thick tail swept over. The tip of the tail contained a green light. Obviously, the Green Demon Emperor had concentrated a large amount of his Jin Yuan there. Although the Green Demon Emperor's movement was as fast as lightning, without the slightest gap, unfortunately, he was facing Yi Chen. In a battle, Yi Chen would never give his enemies any chance to take advantage of him. Shoo! Yi Chen quickly retreated, dodging the Green Demon Emperor's attack. Then, he used the sword domain's condensing power to eliminate the retreating force and changed it into a forward force. Right at this moment, the Green Demon Emperor was in the midst of using up all of his energy. Shoo! The Dragon Spring Sword drew a bright beam of light in the air, piercing towards the Green Demon Emperor's throat. Not good. The Green Demon Emperor didn't expect Yi Chen to attack so quickly. Having miscalculated, he hastily crossed his arms and blocked Yi Chen's sword. Sparks flew everywhere as the Green Demon Emperor's body was blasted back, crashing through several rock walls. It's a mid-grade Emperor-grade armor. Yi Chen shook his head helplessly. If the Green Demon Emperor's armor was a low-grade Emperor-grade, he would have had the confidence to kill him. But now, it was even more difficult than before. After all, every time an Emperor-grade armor's grade increased, its defensive power would greatly increase. After being weakened by the Emperor-grade armor, the true destructive power transmitted to the Green Demon Emperor's body was limited. Not wanting to waste any more time, Yi Chen gave up on the battle and turned to leave. Want to leave? Not so easy. The Green Demon Emperor flew into a rage out of humiliation. In any case, he was a 3-star general of the Green Men race. Yet, he was beaten black and blue by a mere 5th layer life and death king. How could he not feel angry and humiliated? Roar! With a loud roar, the Green Demon Emperor raised his right hand, and a dark green light sphere condensed in his palm. As the light sphere became more and more solid, a character appeared within it. This character was the character of the Green Men race, Exterminate. Go die! His right hand fiercely pushed forward, and the light sphere shot out at a speed that was hundreds and thousands of times faster. Even from far away, Yi Chen could feel the intense destructive power. 3rd Revolution Martial Skill. Yi Chen was not surprised that the Green Demon Emperor could use a 3rd Revolution Martial Skill. Under normal circumstances, any titled monarch could create a 3rd Revolution Martial Skill. It should be known that the higher one's cultivation base was, the higher one's comprehension would be. This was similar to the height one was at. If it were a 9th layer life and death king, they would be able to create a 3rd or 4th Revolution Martial Skill in an instant. This was because their height was so high that they could already see through the mysteries of martial skills. Not daring to be negligent, Yi Chen used extreme sun essence transformation to meet the attack head-on. The sword chi was countless times more dazzling than any sunlight. It was like the first ray of light since the creation of the world, colliding with the dark green light sphere. Crack! Without any suspense, the dark green light sphere only lasted for a split second before it was cleaved apart by the sword chi. The sword chi's momentum didn't dissipate as it continued on its path toward the Green Demon Emperor. Impossible. The Green Demon Emperor had been shocked too many times today. In his eyes, Yi Chen's battle strength was simply inconceivable. He had never seen a 5th layer life and death king with such battle strength. Bang! Rays of light exploded, and the Green Demon Emperor was once again blasted away. He flipped several times in the air, and a trace of blood leaked out of the corner of his mouth. Although the armor was powerful, it couldn't block all attacks. Green Demon Emperor, You are not my opponent. If not for your armor, today would be the day of your death. Yi Chen's voice came from afar as he left. Damn it. The Green Demon Emperor's face turned ashen, and his eyes were filled with a cold killing intent. This kid is a freak. Next time I see him, I'll definitely kill him without leaving any future troubles. The Green Man race and the human race were also mortal enemies. The appearance of a frightening genius in the human race was not a good thing for his race. Swish. With a flicker, the Green Demon Emperor entered another lava passage. 28 high-grade spirit energy fire crystals should be enough to upgrade my spirit body to the 6th step. Looking for a slightly smaller lava space, Yi Chen stopped and flipped his hand. 28 high-grade spirit energy fire crystals appeared in his palm. When he was in Elysium, Yi Chen's spirit body had already reached the late 5th step. After leaving Elysium, his spirit body had made some progress, reaching the peak of the 5th step. However, he was not a body-refining king. Although he could upgrade his spirit body slightly, upgrading it to the next step was extremely difficult. Without treasures, it was basically impossible. Peak 5th step spirit body and 6th step spirit body didn't seem to have much difference, but the significance was completely different. Once the spirit body reached the 6th step, not only would the physical body's defense be stronger, but it would also have the ability to absorb damage. For example, the opponent could make you vomit blood with a single palm, but with a 6th step spirit body, it would be many times more difficult for the opponent to injure you. The majority of monarch spirit bodies were the same as Yi Chen's, peak 5th step, unless they had treasures that could temper their spirit body. However, such treasures were too difficult to find. So far, the one with the highest spirit body that Yi Chen had seen was Peerless King Arju. In the divine trial field, Arju had revealed his spirit body to be at the late 6th step. Of course, Yi Chen also had the 7th step Immortal Sword Intent. With the Immortal Sword Intent protecting him, Yi Chen's pure defense was stronger than a late 6th step spirit body, equivalent to a peak 6th step spirit body. If his spirit body also reached the 6th step, it would undoubtedly be like adding wings to a tiger. Putting away the 24 high-grade spirit energy fire crystals, Yi Chen held 2 in each hand and sat down cross-legged, preparing to absorb the energy from the fire crystals to temper his spirit body. Gurgle. The energy in the high-grade spirit energy fire crystals was too majestic. 4 scorching currents flowed through the Larogong meridian on his palm and entered his body, rapidly tempering his flesh and bones, changing his physique. When he finished absorbing the energy from the 4 high-grade spirit energy fire crystals, a layer of scarlet flame appeared on the surface of Yi Chen's body. This was a sign that his blood and qi were too vigorous. Without wasting any time, Yi Chen took out another 4 high-grade spirit energy fire crystals, 12, 16. By the time he had consumed 16 high-grade spirit energy fire crystals, Yi Chen's body had undergone earth-shaking changes. As his flesh and bones wriggled, a violent qualitative change occurred. It was as if he had turned from an infant to a child. His appetite increased greatly, crazily absorbing the energy from the fire crystals to strengthen his body. Not only that, his flesh and bones also contained the power of decomposition. Much of Yi Chen's Jin Yuan had been decomposed. Fortunately, after a period of time, his flesh and bones had familiarized themselves with the Jin Yuan and no longer decomposed. So, the 6th step spirit body doesn't absorb damage. Instead, it first absorbs and then decomposes. At this moment, Yi Chen had finally upgraded his spirit body to the early 6th step. He had also understood the profoundness of the 6th step spirit body. Compared to the 5th step spirit body, the 6th step spirit body no longer passively received damage. Instead, it absorbed the damage and decomposed it. As the saying went, there was no such thing as the strongest defense, but there was always the strongest defensive method. ZZZ. As soon as the 6th step spirit body was formed, Yi Chen's vitality field immediately erupted. Earth, water, fire, wind, and lightning flashed in the lava space, making Yi Chen look like a god. Gradually withdrawing his vitality field and blood and qi, Yi Chen stood up. Why do I feel a little empty? He punched out, creating a gust of wind. A few cracks appeared in the lava space. However, Yi Chen felt a little empty and was in a hurry to replenish his energy. Could it be that the sixth step spirit body can stimulate cultivation? Yi Chen guessed inwardly. Yi Chen's guess was both wrong and wrong. It was not that the sixth step spirit body could stimulate cultivation, but that the higher the spirit body's rank, the greater the thirst for cultivation. Thus, the body naturally reacted. The reason why body-refining kings could dominate the world and occupy important positions was closely related to their spirit bodies. It was said that the ninth step spirit bodies of life and death supremes could be called undying body. This was a physical power that was millions of times more frightening than the undying body. It was simply unbreakable, and even injuring it would be difficult. Of course, body-refining supremes were much weaker than other supremes in terms of domains. There were gains and losses. There are still 12 high-grade spirit energy fire crystals left. I wonder if I can upgrade my spirit body to mid-6th step. Forget it, let's wait until the 6th step spirit body stabilizes first. I don't want to waste them. As this thought flashed through his mind, Yi Chen continued deeper into Desolate Planet. Chapter 1156. There was a huge battle here. After walking for a while, Yi Chen realized that a lot of lava tunnels had collapsed, and the traces of battle were very obvious. Boom! He threw out a sword attack, and the powerful sword chi pierced through the no-way-out tunnel. Yi Chen's body flashed as he flew over. Run! There are fire crystal beasts in front of us. After flying for a while, a couple of human figures flew over. Yi Chen could tell that they were all humans, and they looked very scared. What happened? Yi Chen hurried to ask. It's a fire crystal beast. A lot of people have already been killed by it. The one flying in the front replied. Fire crystal beast. Yi Chen frowned. He had never heard about it before. However, these people were all at the sixth sky of life and death realm, and they were not weak at all. Judging from this, the fire crystal beasts should be even more powerful and horrifying. Let's go. If we don't go now, we won't be able to even if we want to. The few of them brushed past Yi Chen. Seeing that Yi Chen did not plan to run, one of them could not help but remind Yi Chen. If the fire crystal beasts you are talking about are red crystal beasts, then we will not be able to escape anymore. Within Yi Chen's soul power perception, there were a total of 5 red crystal beasts surrounding them. 2 of them were at the back, forming a triangle, while 3 of them were at the front, forming a triangle. These fire crystal beasts seemed to be able to see them, since they were heading straight for them. What? The few of them were shocked. Roar. Boom. At this moment, the roars of beasts came from behind. Then, the lava tunnel collapsed, and 2 red monsters appeared in front of everyone. These 2 monsters were 5 meters tall and more than 10 meters long. Their bodies were like lions and tigers, and their bodies were made of red crystals. The red crystals were similar to psionic crystals, but they were not as pure as psionic crystals. They seemed to be mixed with other crystals and metals. Flames were spitting out of their nostrils and mouths. They were incomparably hot, even hotter than magma. What surprised Yi Chen the most was that their eyes were actually 2 high-level fire crystals of spiritual energy. Their color was much deeper than the rest of their body parts. They were fiery red and emitting faint flames. The aura they were emitting was clearly the aura of fire crystals of spiritual energy. Of course, it was thousands of times more intense. Is it made of raw spiritual energy fire crystals? According to the fire crystal beast's aura, color, and eyes, Yi Chen instantly determined that the fire crystal beast should be a spirit energy fire crystal lifeform. Yuan Qi could become life, and it was also possible for it to become an object. After all, everything in the world was actually formed from Yuan Qi. What should we do? The few of them were at a loss. They were very clear that even 10 of them would not be a match for the fire crystal beast. For them, the fire crystal beast was a monster that was not afraid of attacks. Before the first wave subsided, another wave arose. The stone walls on the left and right suddenly cracked, and 7 or 8 figures rushed over. There were evil spirit race, demons, and yaksha race. Behind them, there were also a few fire crystal beasts, and they were roaring angrily. This was not the end. In front of Yi Chen, The 3 fire crystal beasts also rushed over. This way, including Yi Chen, there were a total of 12 people. 4 of them were humans, and 8 of them were alien races. 9 fire crystal beasts surrounded them. These 9 fire crystal beasts did not attack directly. Instead, they looked at each other and glared at each other. Quick, the 4 of you, rush up. Since they had the advantage in numbers, one of the demons ordered Yi Chen and the other 3 to rush up. Dream on. Why should we rush up? On Yi Chen's side, the 3 were enraged. If you don't want to rush up, I will kill you now. At this juncture of life and death, the other party's killing intent was not concealed at all. Roar. Seeing that everyone was fighting among themselves, the fire crystal beasts seemed to have a tacit understanding. They attacked at the same time, and the 9 fire crystal beasts pounced over. The first to die was an evil spirit race warrior. His attack landed on the fire crystal beast's body, but the latter was not hurt at all. It opened its mouth and bit down on his body before swallowing him whole. The speed of its bite was so fast that it was like a lightning strike. Yi Chen frowned as he watched. The other fire crystal beast was in the air. It slapped away the spear of a yaksha with one claw and grabbed the yaksha's head with the other. Bang! The yaksha's head exploded like a watermelon. The next moment, the fire crystal beast opened its mouth and sucked the yaksha in. On Yi Chen's side, one of them died instantly. The fire crystal beast was invulnerable, and all attacks were useless against it. It was also extremely fast, and it was very difficult to dodge its attacks. The situation was one-sided. In the blink of an eye, only 7 of the 12 people were left. Run. Why would there be fire crystal beasts on desolate Mars? These monsters are invulnerable, and they are not afraid of soul attacks. The fierce battle made the survivors lose their will to fight. They all ran away crazily. Even when the fire crystal beasts pounced at them, they had no intention of blocking them. There was only one thought in their minds, and that was to run as far as possible. If they could run out of desolate Mars, they would be saved. What a fast attack speed! There were 3 fire crystal beasts attacking Yi Chen. If there was only one, Yi Chen would have wanted to fight it head-on. However, there were 3. Yi Chen could see that the fire crystal beasts had no weaknesses. He would not have any advantage if he fought them head-on. Fortunately, he had the instant sword domain, so Yi Chen could easily dodge and pass through the gaps between the 3 fire crystal beasts. Apart from the 3 fire crystal beasts that had their eyes on Yi Chen, the other fire crystal beasts chased after the other 6. Screams rang out as 4 more people were eaten by the fire crystal beasts. The remaining 2 were also in grave danger. On desolate Mars, their speed was not as fast as the fire crystal beasts. If it were not for the fire crystal beasts fighting for food, these 2 would have been dead already. Run this way. The 2 survivors were the titled kings of the demons and the titled kings of the yaksha race. Judging from their strength, they were at the level of 1-star generals. Unfortunately, they were still not a match for the fire crystal beasts. Seeing that Yi Chen had just dodged the attacks of the 3 fire crystal beasts, they wanted to make Yi Chen the scapegoat. Courting death. A cold light flashed across Yi Chen's eyes. Ignoring the 3 fire crystal beasts, Yi Chen gripped the dragon spring sword with both hands and raised it high. In the next moment, a dazzling sword chi slashed out. It was the extreme sun essence. Puff, puff. Of the 2 1-star generals, one had a low-grade emperor-grade armor, while the other had a low-grade emperor-grade weapon. The eyes of the titled king of the yaksha race with the low-grade emperor-grade weapon widened, as if he didn't expect Yi Chen to be so powerful. He opened his mouth to shout, but before he could make a sound, he was killed by the sword chi and turned into ashes. The other one didn't fare any better. His whole body was sent flying, crashing into a fire crystal beast. This fire crystal beast skillfully turned its head, bit him, and swallowed him. Damn it! Seeing the fire crystal beast swallow the opponent's body, Yi Chen couldn't help but feel annoyed inwardly. 1-star general badge could allow him to purchase a low-grade emperor-grade artifact, which was extremely valuable. If not for the fire crystal beast, he would have been completely confident in killing the opponent and snatching the badge. Fortunately, he still had another 1-star general badge. Otherwise, he would have suffered a great loss. With a suction force from his left hand, a badge, a low-grade Emperor-grade weapon, and a storage ring fell into Yi Chen's hand. Yi Chen stored them in his own storage ring. Roar! Right at this moment, the 3 fire crystal beasts launched their second attack at Yi Chen. The 3 beasts cooperated with each other tacitly. One ran from below, one pounced from above, and the last launched a fierce attack from the right. Top, middle, and bottom were all blocked, leaving Yi Chen with nowhere to run or hide. Of course, this was for others. In an instant, the sword domain reached its limit. The space distorted, and the 3 beasts' movements paused for a moment. "I'd like to see if I really can't injure you." Swish, swish, swish. Crazily arousing his Jin Yuan, Yi Chen slashed out 3 times in a row. All 3 sword strikes were Sun Essence Extreme Transformation. Of course, this kind of killing moves would be weakened if it was used consecutively, perhaps only at 70 to 80%. However, it was enough to probe the opponent. If 70 to 80% of Sun Essence Extreme Transformation couldn't injure the opponent, then even 100% wouldn't have much of an effect. Poochie. The dazzling sword Qi slashed on the fire crystal beast's body. Immediately, cracks appeared on its body. Obviously, 70 to 80% of Sun Essence Extreme Transformation's power could injure the fire crystal beast, although it wasn't fatal. It is indeed effective. Take another sword attack from me. Flying backward, Yi Chen continued to slash out another powerful sword attack. This time, he used 100% of his power, aiming at the fire crystal beast in the middle. Puff! The fire crystal beast's head was cut off. Come here. With a suction force, the fire crystal beast's head involuntarily flew into Yi Chen's hand. You want to bite me? Yi Chen was extremely cautious. He avoided the fire crystal beast's mouth and grabbed its horn. The fire crystal beast's head struggled intensely, but it only had one head left. How could it be Yi Chen's opponent? It couldn't break free at all. Crack! Yi Chen instantly dug out its 2 eyes, high-rank spirit energy fire crystal. Immediately, the fire crystal beast's struggle became weaker. It seemed like its eyes contained a huge amount of energy. Without its eyes, its energy was greatly reduced, and it was getting weaker and weaker. Its eyes are its weak point. Yi Chen understood. After losing its head, the fire crystal beast did not fall down. Instead, flames curled around its neck, and a red light burst out. The next moment, a new head grew out, and 2 high-rank spirit energy fire crystals condensed in its eyes. Yi Chen carefully observed that the fire crystal beast's aura had weakened, and its body was also slightly smaller. Roar! 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 The 12 fire crystal beasts surrounded Yi Chen tightly, each of them preparing to pounce on him. Go! Yi Chen fiercely stomped on the ground, and his whole body shot up into the sky. With a loud boom, the rock wall above his head was blasted away, and Yi Chen escaped to the top. Using all of his strength, he was still unable to kill a single fire crystal beast. Yi Chen had no choice but to give up. If there were only 3 fire crystal beasts, he might have given it his all. Yi Chen's escape had completely enraged the 12 fire crystal beasts, and they crazily chased after him. Let's leave this life planet first. The next time I come, I must equip myself with an Emperor-grade weapon. Yi Chen had killed a 1-star purple gold rank commander and a 1-star general. His battle results were plentiful. When he returned, he could purchase 2 Emperor-grade weapons. Only with an Emperor-grade weapon would his battle power reach a new level. Chapter 1157. After the firestorm, there were less than 100 life and death realm warriors left. But now, with the appearance of the fire crystal beasts, the number of survivors had dropped drastically. Within a short period of time, there were not even 10 left. The others were all running for their lives. Some of them were no weaker than Yi Chen, and 2 of them were even more powerful than Yi Chen. One of them was the Skeleton Ocean Emperor of the Yaksha race, and the other was the Dark Dragon Emperor of the Demons. The Skeleton Ocean Emperor was a 4-star general of the Yaksha race, while the Dark Dragon Emperor was a 5-star general of the Demons. These fire crystal beasts are too much to kill. I should run for my life first. The skeletal Ocean Emperor's strength was extremely tyrannical. Every spear in his hand would inevitably pierce through a fire crystal beast. Unfortunately, the fire crystal beast that was pierced was completely unharmed except for a slightly weaker aura. Even if the skeletal Ocean Emperor used all of his strength, it would still be very difficult to kill a fire crystal beast. At most, he could only make the other party extremely weak. However, there were so many fire crystal beasts that after killing one, 10 would immediately come. By the time he killed 10, he would probably be surrounded by 100. Even if he was a 4-star general, it was impossible for him to face 100 fire crystal beasts. He would definitely die, so he desperately ran away. Wherever there were fewer fire crystal beasts, he would run. If he encountered any obstruction, he would directly attack with his spear. For a moment, it was peaceful, but he had a faint bad feeling. How come there are so many fire crystal beasts? The skeleton sea emperor, who was flying forward, felt his hair stand on end. In front of him was a dense horde of fire crystal beasts. At a rough glance, there were at least 300 of them. The leading fire crystal beast was much smaller than the other fire crystal beasts. It was about 2 meters tall and 6 meters long, but its aura was 10 times stronger than the other fire crystal beasts. I can't beat it with force. The skeleton Ocean Emperor hurried to turn around and run in the opposite direction. In another direction, huge explosions were heard. The Dark Dragon Emperor was unbelievably powerful. His dragon claw art was almost indestructible. Normal fire crystal beasts would be torn apart with one claw attack, causing their aura to drop by 10 times. If Yi Chen were in front of him, he might not even be able to handle one claw attack. The Dark Dragon Emperor's true form was that of a huge black dragon. Even if she didn't cultivate, she would still become a life and death realm warrior when the time came, just like Xu Jing. Of course, back then, Xu Jing had been sealed into a human in the early stages. Only in the later stages did she enter the dragonization pool and gradually transform into a real golden giant dragon. The dark dragon power all over his body made the Dark Dragon Emperor's attack power unparalleled and defense invincible. In addition, he was a 5-star general of the demons. He had a top-notch overlord armor and a low-level emperor weapon. Seriously speaking, most 5-star generals were no match for the Dark Dragon Emperor. His body was too powerful. Haha. Die. The Dark Dragon Emperor had no qualms about killing his way out. Along the way, the fire crystal beasts in his way were torn apart. Although the fire crystal beasts wouldn't die after being torn apart and would reform, their auras would weaken once they were attacked. With the Dark Dragon Emperor's battle strength, a single attack was enough to make a fire crystal beast lose its threat. 30, 50, 70. In a short period of time, 70 fire crystal beasts had been torn apart. Dark Dragon Emperor had also collected many fire crystal beasts shards. These fire crystal beasts shards were filled with fire crystal energy. They could be considered as thin high-grade fire crystal energy. With enough of them, they were equivalent to high-grade fire crystals. Haha. Come on. The Dark Dragon Emperor was very confident in his battle power, so he didn't try to escape. Wherever there were more fire crystal beasts, he would charge toward them. All of a sudden, he was unstoppable. All of a sudden, a fiery red light shot toward the Dark Dragon Emperor. Boom! There was a huge explosion, and the Dark Dragon Emperor took a few steps back. In front of it was a much smaller and darker fire crystal beast. The fire crystal beast was more than 2 meters tall and 6 meters long, but its battle strength was dozens of times stronger than ordinary fire crystal beasts. Oh, interesting. The Dark Dragon Emperor stuck out his tongue and licked his lips, looking very excited. The darker-colored fire crystal beast stared at the Dark Dragon Emperor. Although it didn't have much intelligence, it could feel that the enemy in front of it was not easy to deal with. Roar. The fire crystal beast roared into the sky. The roar spread far and wide. Some of the smaller fire crystal beasts followed the sound and rushed over. They were extremely fast, looking like beams of fiery red light. Soon, 7 petite fire crystal beasts surrounded the Dark Dragon Emperor. Do you think that you can kill me with numbers? In your dreams. The Dark Dragon Emperor was not afraid at all. Instead, He looked at the 7 smaller fire crystal beasts with interest. His battle power had already surpassed the 7th sky of life and death realm, reaching the 8th sky of life and death realm. Although his cultivation base was only at the 7th sky of life and death realm. The title of an 8th sky of life and death realm monarch could carry the word emperor. Of course, the Dark Dragon Emperor was not an emperor, but he was a battle emperor, which was 1 level higher than a battle emperor. Normally, a 4-star general would have the battle power of a low-level battle emperor, and a 5-star general would have the battle power of a mid-level battle emperor. The Dark Dragon Emperor was slightly weaker than a high-level battle emperor, but he was definitely a top warrior among the mid-level battle emperors. A great battle broke out in an instant. The Dark Dragon Emperor and the 7 smaller fire crystal beasts started fighting. Crack! The Dark Dragon Emperor's claw speed was extremely fast. He waved his claw 3 times, leaving deep claw marks on the bodies of 3 fire crystal beasts. One of the fire crystal beast's front legs had been broken, and its body was sliding on the ground. Of course, the Dark Dragon Emperor had also been hit 4 times. His back, chest, and shoulders were all covered in burning sparks. The Dark Dragon Emperor fell to the ground and rolled on the ground. Suddenly crawling up, the Dark Dragon Emperor patted the dark red liquid on his body and laughed, "Not enough, again." With the Dark Dragon's defense and the top Emperor rank armor, the Dark Dragon Emperor was not afraid of these 7 fire crystal beasts. His only shortcoming was his soul defense. Of course, this was only relative to his rank. How many fire crystal beasts are there? While escaping, Yi Chen opened his soul eyes and scanned the surroundings. This scan shocked him. Within the range of his soul eyes, there were red dots everywhere. With a rough glance, there were thousands of them. The entire barren planet seemed to be occupied by the fire crystal beasts. Some of the red dots were even more dazzling. He was afraid that they were even more powerful and horrifying than the fire crystal beasts he saw. There is a gap here. With the soul eyes, Yi Chen easily found a weak spot with fewer fire crystal beasts. His body stretched, Yi Chen's speed exploded to the limit. Roar! 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 The 12 fire crystal beasts followed closely behind Yi Chen. Their speed was only a little bit slower than Yi Chen's. In a short time, Yi Chen would not be able to shake them off. Not only that, as the 12 fire crystal beasts roared, the path that Yi Chen had chosen started to be surrounded by fire crystal beasts, as if they wanted to outflank Yi Chen. Not good. Yi Chen's face was extremely ugly. The path that he had thought to be a weak spot was now a dead end. There were at least 10 fire crystal beasts blocking the way. Where should I run? Yi Chen did not know what to do now. The fire crystal beasts could communicate with each other through their roars. Plus, they could see everything within a certain range. Yi Chen's soul eye had basically been destroyed. Even if he could see the escape route, it would still be a dead end in the next second. There was no way he could survive. I should not waste my soul power. Closing his soul eyes, Yi Chen replaced it with normal soul power. At this point, the more soul power he used, the less it would be. The soul eyes consumed too much soul power, not to mention that they did not have much use. Releasing his soul power, Yi Chen decided to take it 1 step at a time. He was not the kind of person who would give up easily. Ah! Ah! Screams continued. Including Yi Chen, there were a total of 9 people inside Planet Baron. However, it was obvious that those who were as strong as Yi Chen could not hold on any longer. One by one, they were swallowed into the fire crystal beast stomachs. Once they were swallowed, it was almost impossible for them to escape. After an hour, only Dark Dragon Emperor, Skeleton Ocean Emperor, and Yi Chen were left on the entire Planet Baron. Yi Chen had managed to hold on until now with his 4-star purple gold rank commander power. His ability to survive was self-evident. This time, it is really a narrow escape. There were more than 100 fire crystal beasts chasing after Yi Chen, looking like a red river. As time passed, more and more fire crystal beasts would join in. Alright, it has been a long time since I experienced a life and death battle. I would like to see if these fire crystal beasts can kill me. The more dangerous it was, the more it could stimulate Yi Chen's potential. Back in Elysium, He had been through hundreds of battles and often encountered life and death battles. However, after coming to the universe, he had encountered fewer life and death battles. Of course, he also knew that in the universe, life and death kings could live up to 100,000 years. It was impossible for them to encounter danger so easily. Some of them could even stay in seclusion for hundreds of years. However, Yi Chen had only stayed in seclusion for a dozen years. However, it was different for Yi Chen. He was used to life and death battles, and was used to surviving in desperate situations. In the past dozen years of peace, he felt that he had made little progress. Yes, very little progress. Without the God Paradise, without the time ratio of 100:1 in the Tower of Time, he could not have such achievements. His current achievements were built up over time, which was nothing to be proud of. A true powerhouse, even if it was only a short time, would have shocking achievements. The change in his mentality had brought a qualitative change to Yi Chen. His chi turned sharp as if he had returned to the scene of struggling for survival. His blood boiled with endless fighting spirit. Shua shua. Like a bird that was not affected by any force, Yi Chen shuttled between the fire crystal beasts. Although he still had the same speed and technique, he now felt a sense of freedom. It was this freedom that allowed him to turn the impossible into the possible and escape from desperate situations. The fire crystal beasts had simple intelligence. They didn't know what had happened to Yi Chen. They only knew how to chase after him. Hey! There is someone ahead. Through his soul power, Yi Chen saw a human figure flying over. Judging from his chi, he should be a titled monarch of the Yaksha race. Very powerful. It should be a 4-star general. Yi Chen saw that the opponent could easily pierce through the fire crystal beasts with a single strike. Occasionally, he would even use a powerful attack to smash the fire crystal beasts in his way into pieces. Chapter 1158. The newcomer was none other than Skeleton Ocean Emperor. Skeleton Ocean Emperor possessed a high-grade Emperor-grade weapon and a mid-grade Emperor-grade armor. In terms of pure strength, he was not stronger than Yi Chen. Even if he was stronger, it would not be by much. However, the higher one's cultivation base, the higher the requirement for artifacts. With these two artifacts, Yi Chen's battle strength could never catch up. Kill. With a wave of his battle spear, a fire crystal beast was shattered into dozens of pieces. His killing move could instantly destroy ordinary fire crystal beasts, but it took a long time to charge up. After killing dozens of fire crystal beasts, Skeleton Ocean Emperor also saw Yi Chen. Strange, a mere 5th layer life and death king can actually live until now. So that's how it is. His sword domain has actually reached the mid-5th layer, and it even contains the power of space. No, he can actually reverse the sword domain and eliminate the useless force on his body. Skeleton Ocean Emperor's insight was brilliant. Logically speaking, even mid-5th layer sword domain couldn't do what Yi Chen was doing, turning the impossible into the possible. Upon closer inspection, Skeleton Ocean Emperor realized that Yi Chen was reversing sword domain and dissolving the useless force and inertia of his body. For example, if a person was advancing at full speed, it would be extremely difficult to make them retreat. Moreover, one would have to bear the combined force of both forward and backward, which would be a huge burden. However, Yi Chen had removed the forward force and only needed to add the backward force. This way, his dodging would naturally be unrestrained and unconstrained. Righteous sword domain, affecting others. Reverse luck sword domain, affecting oneself. Achieving this step was extremely difficult, and required extremely powerful comprehension and execution. Before, Yi Chen had only taken a small step, and it was still imperfect. Moreover, he had to rely on the power of space. But now, Yi Chen could do it as he pleased, approaching perfection. Such a genius is a disaster if left alive. Since I've encountered him, I'll deal with him in passing. With this thought, Skeleton Ocean Emperor made his decision. Yi Chen knew that Skeleton Ocean Emperor was not a pushover. To be more precise, all titled monarchs of different races were not pushovers. Once they encountered each other, they would inevitably fight to the death. He wasn't a match for the Skeleton Ocean Emperor, and this place was filled with fire crystal beasts. It really wasn't the best place for a battle. Go. Making a turn in the air, Yi Chen flew in another direction. You want to leave? The skeleton sea emperor sneered and followed closely behind Yi Chen. Rumble. The skeleton ocean emperor and the fire crystal beasts behind Yi Chen converged. There were 500 of them, and 3 of them were petite. Yi Chen frowned when he saw the skeleton ocean monarch following him. Clang. Unsheathing the dragon spring sword, Yi Chen turned around and hacked towards the skeleton sea emperor. The sword chi released by the dragon spring sword was as fierce as a raging fire, nearly merging with the air. The sword chi released by the dragon spring sword seemed to be gentle and neutral, but in fact, it contained boundless potential. It was the true Inferno sword. Reckless. The skeleton ocean emperor was infuriated. He hadn't expected that the other party would make a move on him before he had even made a move. This had undoubtedly infuriated him. Break for me. Raising his battle spear, the skeleton ocean emperor's spear swept across the sword chi. The intense blue light instantly condensed into a huge spear shadow. With a loud bang, a shockwave spread out. A trace of blood leaked out from the corner of Yi Chen's mouth. His speed increased again, and he used the borrowed force to the extreme. On the other hand, the skeleton ocean emperor's face paled, and his speed slowed down. It turned out that the sword chi released by Yi Chen was extremely powerful. Being caught off guard, the skeleton ocean emperor suffered a hidden loss. Of course, there was a big gap between their battle power. Aside from the sharp decrease in speed, the skeleton ocean emperor was fine. However, with 500 fire crystal beasts following behind him, he was instantly surrounded. Piss off. Spear shadows shot out everywhere, and a large number of fire crystal beasts were thrown away. Even the 3 petite fire crystal beasts were forced back dozens of meters. As a 4-star general, the skeleton ocean emperor's battle power was unimaginable. If it weren't for the fact that there were too many fire crystal beasts on desolate Mars, the skeleton ocean emperor would have already fought his way out. Swoosh. Using this opportunity, the skeleton ocean emperor flashed out of the encirclement and chased after Yi Chen again. In terms of speed, he was slightly faster than Yi Chen, but he wasn't as nimble as his opponent. He's really persistent. Yi Chen wasn't afraid of the skeleton ocean emperor. If he couldn't beat him, couldn't he just run? However, the skeleton sea emperor's persistent pestering gave him a bad feeling. Go back. From far away, Yi Chen attacked the skeleton ocean emperor with another sword chi. Haha, do you think I'll fall for your trick again? The skeleton ocean emperor flapped his wings and soared into the sky. The sword chi swept past below him and slashed at a group of fire crystal beasts. As a monarch of the Yaksha race, the skeleton ocean emperor's speed was his forte. If it weren't for Yi Chen's equally astonishing speed, he would have caught up long ago. At such a distance, Yi Chen's sword chi couldn't touch him at all. He also didn't want to fight with Yi Chen from afar. After all, that would lower his speed. Just like that, Yi Chen flew in front and slashed behind him from time to time. The skeleton ocean emperor displayed his speed and dodged Yi Chen's sword chi. As for the fire crystal beasts behind them, they were a little unlucky. They were slashed by the sword chi. However, desolate Mars was the fire crystal beasts' territory, and the number of fire crystal beasts increased from 500 to 1,000. Now, even the skeleton ocean emperor was surrounded and couldn't escape. Swish. Right at this moment, the skeleton ocean emperor's speed suddenly increased. The wings on his back shone with a blue radiance as if they were made of blue crystals. This was the peak emperor-grade secret art of the Yaksha race, light wings transformation. Upon reaching the highest realm, one could reach light speed. It should be known that light speed was a threshold. Even 7th layer life and death monarchs couldn't surpass light speed. They could at most approach it. Therefore, between 7th layer and 7th layer life and death monarchs, there wasn't much difference in speed. They were all very close to light speed, or even infinitely close to it. Skeleton Ocean Emperor's normal speed was only a bit faster than Yi Chen's, and it wasn't very obvious. However, after using Light Wings transformation, his speed had increased by a lot. If he were in a vacuum, his speed would definitely reach light speed. Above light speed, There was no such thing as 2 or 3 times light speed. Above light speed was teleportation, which was the means of 8th layer life and death realm titled monarchs. So fast. Yi Chen was startled. The wings on the skeleton ocean emperor's back had almost fused with the void. In this way, space wouldn't obstruct him, and his speed would reach a perfect realm. If my space profound reaches 90% completion, I'll most likely be able to move at light speed as well. Seeing this scene, Yi Chen recalled his own space profound. Space profound was unfathomable, and Yi Chen estimated that with 90% completion, he would be able to move at light speed, and with perfection, he would be able to teleport. At 8th layer life and death realm, his teleportation distance would be many times greater than others. 20 li, 10 li, 5 li, 3 li, 1 li. Soon, the distance between the two was reduced to 500 meters. This was a very short distance, and in a vacuum, it was completely negligible. Kid, stay here. The skeleton ocean emperor flipped his palm, and a black sphere appeared. With a swish, he threw the sphere at Yi Chen. What is this? Without any hesitation, Yi Chen threw out a sword attack onto the black ball. Pang! In the next moment, the black sphere exploded, releasing countless fine threads. There were so many of them that they seemed boundless. With a single point as the center, they scattered in every direction. Yi Chen, who was the closest to them, was immediately enveloped by countless threads. As for Skeleton Ocean Emperor, he soared into the sky. Only a few threads touched his body, but even so, he had to expend a great deal of effort to break free from their entanglement. Besides Yi Chen, the fire crystal beast that was following behind him was also caught by the strings. Not good. Yi Chen's speed suddenly slowed down, getting slower and slower. On his body, those thin strands had tightly wrapped around him. Waving his dragon spring sword, he could only cut off dozens of strands at most, which was completely useless. Haha, this 1,000-layer silk of mine cost me 10 million yuan stones. You should be proud of yourself for using it on you. 1,000-layer silk was a refined treasure. Its raw material was the silk of a kind of monarch spider. Monarch spider was not a demonic beast, but a cosmic beast like the star colossal beast. An adult monarch spider was incomparably frightening. Even 7th-layer life and death realm titled monarchs would have a slim chance of survival if they encountered one. Its silk could stick to anything, making it extremely difficult to struggle free. The reason why the Skeleton Ocean Emperor used 1,000-layer silk on Yi Chen was because Yi Chen's battle strength was at least at the level of a 4-star purple gold commander. Killing such a genius would be rewarded greatly. If he killed a 1-star or 2-star purple gold commander, although he would also get a reward, it would not be this much. Using 1,000-layer silk would be a waste, and the gains would not make up for the losses. Pop, pop, pop. Snap after snap, Yi Chen felt as if he had sunk into a swamp, and his movements became extremely sluggish. At the same time, the surrounding fire crystal beasts surrounded him, and their numbers kept increasing. Enjoy it. The Skeleton Ocean Emperor pulled away, not wanting to be surrounded. As for 1,000-layer silk, it could not bind a person for a long time. After all, it had not reached an indestructible level. Finally, Yi Chen got rid of the 1,000 layers of silk and looked around. There were at least 1,500 fire crystal beasts surrounding him from all directions. Could it be that I will die here? Yi Chen sucked in a deep breath. No, even if I die 10 times, I will carve out a bloody path. A deep darkness appeared in his pupils. At this moment, Yi Chen's mind was devoid of all distracting thoughts. All he could think of was kill, 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 kill anyone who stood in his way. Roar, roar, roar. Roars rang out incessantly as at least hundreds of fire crystal beasts charged at Yi Chen. Looking from afar, Yi Chen seemed to have fallen into the ball of fire crystal beasts, and nothing could be seen from the outside. He should be dead. But it won't be easy to get his storage ring and purple gold commander badge. The Skeleton Ocean Emperor thought to himself. Kai, 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 Kai. There were so many fire crystal beasts that they formed a huge round ball. Being in the middle of it, Yi Chen had no way out. However, right at this moment, A swishing sound was heard as a black sword chi shot out through the cracks. The ball of fire crystal beasts seemed to have turned into a hedgehog, a black hedgehog. Chapter 1159. Back to before. Surrounded by hundreds of fire crystal beasts, Yi Chen waved the dragon spring sword in vain. There were just too many fire crystal beasts. Although his sword chi could cut open the bodies of the fire crystal beasts at the front, it was useless. The fire crystal beasts at the back seized the opportunity and pounced on Yi Chen. Creak, creak. Violent metal grating sounds were heard. Yi Chen suffered several attacks in a short while. The fire crystal beast's sharp claws contained boundless power, which was comparable to a body-refining emperor. Blood flowed out from all 7 apertures of his. Yi Chen's body was almost twisted. If it was just one fire crystal beast attacking him, he would be able to resist it. But now, there were several fire crystal beasts attacking him from all directions, which entangled and tore each other apart. How could Yi Chen's body withstand all of this? If it weren't for the Iron Blood Silver Blue set protecting him, his body might have exploded from this attack. Boom! It wasn't over yet. A petite fire crystal beast rushed over and slammed its claw on his chest. With an earth-shattering force, Yi Chen's chest caved in, and a stream of blood spurted out from his mouth. Yi Chen was completely dumbfounded. He didn't know where he was or who he was. In his soul sea, raging waves surged. The soul and the body were inseparable. When the body was severely injured, the soul would be affected as well. At this moment, Yi Chen had fallen into an unprecedented crisis. The immortal sword soul crazily vibrated, and a white-colored sword intent spread out, wanting to protect Yi Chen's soul and body. Meanwhile, the destruction sword soul beside the immortal sword soul also began to throb. Buzz, 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 buzz. The destruction sword soul seemed to have awakened, and a black ink-like sword intent spread out, contending against the white-colored immortal sword intent. When the destruction sword intent and the immortal sword intent each occupied half of the battlefield, Yi Chen's soul sea became a black world and a white world. Ah! An angry roar was heard as Yi Chen's eyes turned black and white. The black one was like a black hole, immeasurably deep and filled with killing intent, while the white one was like a holy light, ancient and all-encompassing, containing the mentality of the world decaying and him being immortal. The dragon spring sword was dyed black as Yi Chen waved it out. All of a sudden, the tiny fire crystal beast was blown away, but the sword chi's power did not dissipate yet. It cut the beasts behind it into pieces as well. Swish, swish, swish. With enough space, Yi Chen pushed his dragon spring sword's speed to its limit. His whole body was wrapped in a black light ball, and in the next second, black sword chi spread out in all directions. The ink-like black sword chi not only landed on the bodies of the fire crystal beasts, but also leaked out through the gaps between their bodies. All of a sudden, hundreds of fire crystal beasts formed a round ball with black sword chi shooting out in all directions, making it look like a huge black hedgehog. It was a breathtaking scene. Chi. From far away, Skeleton Ocean Emperor saw the situation and fiercely squinted his eyes. Being surrounded by hundreds of fire crystal beasts, even he would have to use all his strength to kill his way out. After all, an encirclement was different from an ordinary encirclement. An ordinary encirclement would always have a weak point, and he would be able to kill his way out. However, an encirclement didn't have any weak points. This chi of destruction, its 7th step destruction sword intent, Skeleton Ocean Emperor's heart sank. The 7th step destruction sword intent was equivalent to an ordinary 8th step sword intent. There was a huge gap between the 7th and 8th step sword intent, and countless people were stuck at this point. However, once the sword intent reached the 8th step, it would produce a protective sword intent. The might of an 8th step protective sword intent was not inferior to a peak 6th step spirit body. A Life and Death King's sword intent or martial will would reach the 8th step. Not to mention anything else, just the defensive power of a Life and Death King's soul would become much stronger. It should be known that the defensive will could not only protect the body, but also the soul. Before cultivating Soul Ring, the reason why Yi Chen's soul defense was so strong was also related to the immortal sword intent. However, the destruction sword intent was different from the immortal sword intent. The latter focused on defense, while the former focused on slaughter, containing the essence of destruction. By relying on the 7th step destruction sword intent, Yi Chen's battle power increased tenfold, finally crossing the threshold of peak Battle Emperor and reaching the low-level Battle Emperor realm. The destruction sword intent has finally reached the 7th step. Yi Chen woke up and rejoiced inwardly. The destruction sword intent and the immortal sword intent were both supreme sword intents. If it was just one of them, it would be very hard to improve. Only when two supreme sword intents were at the same level could they resonate and complement each other. Although in terms of power, the 7th rank destruction sword intent was equivalent to the ordinary 8th rank sword intent, apart from the power, the other effects of the 7th rank destruction sword intent were not something an ordinary 8th rank sword intent could compare with. For example, some fire crystal beasts that had been cut in half couldn't recover no matter how hard they tried. With the immortal sword intent for defense and the destruction sword intent for offense, Yi Chen was flawless. I really have to thank you. Sensing the presence of the skeleton Ocean Emperor with his soul power, Yi Chen sneered. Humph, kid, so what if your destruction sword intent has reached the 7th step? In terms of power, you are still weaker than me. The skeleton Ocean Emperor's biggest source of confidence was the mid-level Emperor armor on his body. In terms of defense, it was much stronger than a mid-level Heavenly King armor. Yi Chen's attack power might be comparable to his, but his defense was definitely not as good. Really? Swoosh. Yi Chen soared into the sky, twisting and turning. The surrounding fire crystal beasts couldn't touch him at all. Raising the dragon spring sword, Yi Chen swept a black sword chi at the skeleton Ocean Emperor. Under the influence of the 7th step destruction sword intent, the sword chi turned black, emitting boundless black light, as if there was a black sun inside the sword chi. Break. The skeleton Ocean Emperor was not afraid of Yi Chen. He struck down with his spear, also using his ultimate attack. Rumble. A black and blue light ball exploded, and the fire crystal beasts were blown away. The battle between the two was no longer something ordinary fire crystal beasts could interfere with. Swoosh. Skeleton Ocean Monarch looked down and saw a strand of black sword chi on his chest. This strand of black sword chi was like a black snake, swimming around Skeleton Ocean Monarch's body. It was very hard to get rid of it. Indeed worthy of being the 7th step destruction sword intent. The skeleton Ocean Emperor was not surprised. The destruction sword intent was a supreme sword intent, and it naturally had aspects that ordinary sword intents couldn't reach. He couldn't help but sigh, feeling that Yi Chen was really lucky. The supreme sword intent wasn't something that ordinary people could comprehend, and it needed an opportunity. Apart from that, the supreme sword intent was much harder to improve than other sword intents, 10 times harder than ordinary sword intents. He wondered how Yi Chen had improved it to the 7th step. Yi Chen's power made the skeleton Ocean Emperor feel that he was a disaster. When he grew up, he didn't know how many powerful warriors of the Yaksha race would die in his hands. The Yaksha Jin Yuan burst forth along with the martial will, and the skeleton Ocean Emperor forcefully forced out the little black snake sword chi. With a ripping sound, the little black snake sword chi tore through the air and left, but it soon returned as if it had its eyes on the skeleton Ocean Emperor. With a cold snort, the skeleton Ocean Emperor destroyed the sword chi with one finger. This kid is not easy to deal with. Let's leave the desolate planet first. The skeleton Ocean Emperor didn't want to continue fighting with Yi Chen. This was the desolate planet, not the outside world. It would be hard to escape. If he fought with Yi Chen, he would be surrounded by thousands of fire crystal beasts. Even if he had 3 heads and 6 arms, he would still die. He wouldn't treat his life as a joke. Flapping his wings, the skeleton Ocean Emperor's speed was pushed to the limit. With a flash of blue light, he disappeared without a trace. You sure run fast. Yi Chen's speed was much slower than the skeleton Ocean Emperor's, so he couldn't chase. Right now, his plan was to leave this planet. He had a feeling that it would be very difficult to escape. This was just the beginning. The Dark Dragon Emperor's battle prowess was heaven-defying. There were already 18 small fire crystal beasts around him, but they still couldn't do anything to him. Instead, they were defeated. I don't want to play with you anymore. Die. A huge black dragon claw appeared, and the dark dragon emperor clawed at one of the small fire crystal beasts. Bang! This small fire crystal beast was smashed into pieces, unable to recover. In a short while, most of the 18 small fire crystal beasts were killed by the dark dragon emperor. The dark dragon emperor, who had used his killing move, was not someone the small fire crystal beasts could fight against. However, at this moment, the dark dragon emperor was surrounded by thousands of normal fire crystal beasts. When the small fire crystal beasts couldn't fight against the dark dragon emperor, a large number of normal fire crystal beasts pounced over. With their simple intelligence, they didn't know what fear was. The only thing leading them was to kill all the flesh and blood life on Mars Desolate. Awesome, haha. As a titled monarch, the dark dragon emperor had formed the sky demon mark. In his human form, he was stronger and more monstrous than in his black dragon form. Every move he made had heaven-defying battle prowess. With a casual wave of his claw, more than 10 normal fire crystal beasts were crushed. Dark dragon explosion. Suddenly, the dark dragon emperor spread his limbs, and a deep darkness spread out from his body. With a boom, black light exploded, and countless normal fire crystal beasts were shattered and scattered everywhere. Roar. Seeing that the dark dragon emperor was on a killing spree, a deafening roar rang out, and the entire barren planet shook slightly. A golden red flowing light appeared in front of the dark dragon emperor at a terrifying speed. Fire crystal beast emperor? Normal fire crystal beasts were normal fire crystal beasts, and the small fire crystal beasts were beast kings. This golden red fire crystal beast was even smaller. It was only 1 meter tall and 3 meters long, about the size of a tiger. If there were no surprises, this golden red fire crystal beast should be a beast emperor among the fire crystal beasts. Come. The dark dragon emperor wasn't afraid at all and fought with the fire crystal beast emperor. An earth-shattering roar rang out from another direction. This is... Yi Chen hesitated. Swoosh. At this moment, the skeleton ocean emperor ran back in a sorry state. His body was covered in blood, and he completely ignored Yi Chen's existence and flew toward the depths of Mars Desolate. Yi Chen didn't attack the skeleton ocean emperor. In his soul force, he sensed a small golden red fire crystal beast chasing after the skeleton ocean emperor. A powerful aura surged, and it was extraordinarily terrifying. Shua, the golden red fire crystal beast, looked at Yi Chen with killing intent. Not good. Just like the skeleton ocean emperor, Yi Chen turned and ran. He was sure that his defense wouldn't be able to block a single attack from the golden red fire crystal beast. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.